Part 2 of this Liberty series focuses on being able to push your horse away without losing the connection. Your space and energy must be inviting to your horse, and creating a bend really helps when you want to take the lines off but keep your horse at a slightly bigger distance. These are some of the exercises I use to build that foundation and develop a clear two-way communication. Some people move or yield the hip to keep their horse bending around the circle. I like to teach them to move their shoulders too. I start this at the halt, almost looking for a pivot with the front legs crossing over, with my hand either holding their halter or just parallel to their face to create a wall and help guide them through the step. Your horse needs to be able to move out of your space too, and this is checking that so you don't have a pushy horse running you over. There needs to be a balance of drive and draw. I sequence my cues. I turn towards my horse, then lift my hand, then begin walking into them, bumping the air with my hand. I hold the whip perpendicular to the shoulder, then finally tap if the horse is giving no response. Be sure to reward for the slightest tries at the start, even if it's just one step. I like to be able to move my horse a full circle around both directions to make sure they're solid on this exercise. Next, I teach the side pass. It's important to be able to move your horse's body laterally to adjust the distance between you two. Since we've worked on yielding the hindquarters in part 1, and now moving the shoulder, there's 2 ways I'll teach the side pass depending on the horse. The first way, I'll piece together moving the hip and shoulder while adding my new cue. The whip adds energy and creates a barrier parallel to the body, asking the hip to move one step and then the shoulder. I'll hold my whip steady and then wave or tap the air if needed. When I teach this way, I add the body language for the side pass in after they've become more fluent because I'm using 2 separate exercises to teach this and I don't want the horse getting confused. The second way is similar, except I start against a fence to help take away one answer. This eliminates forward movement. I've found with using the fence, it's more one motion rather than putting together, moving the hip and shoulder. Once you can do a few steps facing the rail, take the crutch away and practice off the fence and in the middle of the ring or round pen, checking that you have no tension on the lead rope. In part 1, I talked about flexion. This next exercise is putting flexion and moving your horse around you together. I usually just keep one hand on the rope in this exercise, holding in the flexing position and then asking the horse to move their hip with my other hand. Try to be consistent and give a release when your horse bends and takes a step at the same time. You're looking for no resistance on the lead rope as they put the 2 exercises together. Just like with side passing, I hold the whip parallel to the horse. The 2 ends act as pressure points for the hip and shoulder. There's a few other whip positions I'll talk about later and in future videos. Tip it more towards the hip if you need the horse to take bigger steps. You're looking for smaller steps with the front legs and bigger steps with the hind legs. Once they get more confident, increase the amount of steps you ask for them to track around you. Having a bend is also helpful to know where your horse's focus is. If you can see their eye, or both eyes, you can tell if they're engaged or not. Once they're holding the bend on a circle, lengthen your lead rope and don't directly help as much. Try to keep slack and test your horse's response to moving their hip and if they keep their bend. Now I add to the previous exercise by moving the shoulder out. When I want a little more bend in shape, I move my whip almost perpendicular to the shoulder to increase pressure at that point. I ask my horse to move their shoulder just as if he were at the halt, except now he's bent towards me and moving forward. I'm looking for those front legs to move away and create more space between us. Once he moves out and gets his bend back, I'll either move my whip back to the original parallel position or give a release by exhaling for a stop or drawing my horse up to me. At the start, the more draws and releases you give your horse after these exercises, the quicker they'll understand. Once you have their attention, don't micromanage every detail too much. Some horses will get stressed out and lose their relaxation. An overlooked detail to pay attention to is relaxation. If your horse is in tune with you, they're picking up every bit of energy and direction you give off. When I exhale through my whole body, I'm looking for my horse to either slow down or stop depending on how much I relax. Never stay stiff or tense when you're working your horse, but hold your posture a little more confidently. You want them to see and feel a difference when you relax. This is important for downward transitions too, and it can also let your horse know to stay where they are and that they're doing well. Having a good stop is super important while doing Liberty. I'll start by walking right into a fence, saying a verbal cue, and using my body language. I also put my whip up as a cue. Then I'll begin increasing speed. If my horse stops past me or is delayed in their stop, I back them, typically sooner than I did here, and usually go right back into the exercise. I then begin testing off the rail. I want to have total slack in the lead rope and have my horse stop right in their tracks. I really don't want my horse leading or stopping off of pressure on the rope or halter. I want them listening to my body language. I make gentle corrections when I start Liberty work because I want them to be near me. I don't want them to be fearful. So at the start, I'm okay with them getting a smidge pushy, but make sure they know their boundaries, especially once they become more comfortable, confident, and connected. I started on this a little bit in the first Liberty video, but now I want to spiral even more intensely off the rail. For this clip, I go in a little bit quick, but you want to really start coming off the rail and more into the center, always backing yourself up and giving your horse plenty of room to move into you. It's really important to be aware of your whip positioning. When you lower it, you typically want your horse to relax more or stay a little bit more consistent where they are, just lowering the energy level. If you need your horse to catch up again, raise your whip to add more energy and slow your body down and lower your whip when your horse catches up. Only let your whip touch the ground or drag when you want full relaxation turn into a halt. This is really the first off-the-line exercise I'll work on. I hope I was able to share a few more helpful exercises in this video. Here's a peek at just a few of the exercises in part 3, including incorporating the draw exercises into moving Liberty circles, bringing the energy up to a trot, and more off-the-line exercises. In case you haven't watched it already, be sure to check out Liberty Part 1. My next video will be teaching the laydown, so stay tuned for that.